Hey guys, I'm Dov, and today I'm back with more Total War Warhammer 2 online action. We're here today with Bretonnia. They're going to be taking on the Dwarves. This is another replay from Shadow Online Gaming's tournament. Of course, I'll have a link down in the description below to his channel, but this is Hero of Rome once again taking his Bretonnia against the Dwarves. Last time we saw him take on the Lizardmen and prevail over ECL champion Falcon. This time he's up against Umaze, which is another very, very good dwarf player, probably one of the best dwarf players out there. And yeah, so definitely got his work cut out for him. Let's go ahead and have a look. Of course, the Fae and the Paladin leading the way in the center with some foot squires, a lot of foot squires. We've got Knights Errant, 2 trebuchets, plenty of peasant archers as well, and some peasant mobs. On the dwarf side, oh, can't forget about this guy as well. The Green Knight, Vanguard deployed up here in the corner. Meanwhile, for the Dwarves, we've got a front line of Dwarf Warriors, no surprises there, Rune Lord and Rune Smith. We've got Thunderers, Quarrelers, so 3 Quarrelers, looks like a Thunderer, Rangers, another Thunderer, 2 Longbeards with great weapons protecting the side. And of course, the obligatory Dawi cannon, gyro up in the air as well. And yeah, that's more or less it. I may have missed a unit or two, but we'll catch up in a minute. Gyro's getting shot at by the peasant archers, and the trebuchet is on a very good hill position here. I don't know if these woods are potentially going to block some of the shots point blank, but the trebuchets do have a very nice hill position here where they can fire downhill and potentially get some good damage done. Defenders of the fleur-de-lis making their way all the way up and around, going to try and use some of this terrain to block the cannon shots. But Green Knight here doing some cheeky missile wasting for the dwarves. Potentially going to be very key in the late game, but we'll see. Green Knight with his physical resistance, his speed and everything, and he can just dodge around, you know, block. He doesn't actually have a missile block chance, despite the fact that he has a shield, which I find a little bit silly. Really, CA, come on. I know he's ethereal, but that's not actually his arm, right? It should count as a shield. Anyway, that aside, you can see the Fae Enchantress and the Paladin getting involved in the front line here. They're going to soak it in with these Longbeards, start to do a little bit of magic damage. The Rune Lord, unfortunately, is not on his chair, so he does not give that map-wide magic resistance. The Fae Drain will do a little bit. It's not going to do a ton, but it will do some damage. Looks like Foot Squires in the front line as well, catching an Earthblood there. Unfortunately, those are not Rangers, so the Peasant Bowfire honestly not going to do much at all to the Quarrelers with their heavy armor and missile block chance. You can see defenders of the fleur-de-lis starting to sweep up and around as the Foot Squires continue to make their way forward. They're not doing too hot, though, against these Dwarf Warriors, which is not the best trade in the world. Of course, with plenty of missile support, they're just, yeah, a little bit of a rough engagement to try and take an infantry engagement against the Dwarves as Bretonnia. So, yeah, we'll see how the Foot Squires do here, but the defenders... sorry, these are just regular Knights Errant. Going to try and get up and back into the back line here. The Green Knight also pushing through the center as well. He can start to maybe drop some terror routes, or at the very least get back and disrupt some of these missile units. Unfortunately, wasn't in time to save one of those units of Foot Squires, but he should be able to do some good disruption here, potentially save some of the other Foot Squires. And yeah, the Terror, of course, will be a big danger as well. Regular Knights Errant, Master Rune of Wrath and Ruin, and just getting overwatched from all sides. So yeah, they're pretty much done for at this point. And the missiles will just absolutely wreck them. You can see the Longbeards with great weapons shimmying over to the side here to block the charge of the defenders themselves. Another Rune of Wrath and Ruin debuffing their speed. They are also getting an uphill charge, which isn't going to be the best, and plenty of overwatch fire from the cannon, from the Thunderers and more. But oh man, they did kill the cannon crewmen. That's not bad. Green Knight also getting in here, but again, they're going to take a ton of damage just from that one charge, and it looks like the Brimstone guns also providing some overwatch fire there as well. So the Bretonnian heavy cavalry, unfortunately, not doing too well. Of course, there were just a couple of Knights Errant there, but still. This disruption in the backline, not where it needed to be. The cannon is still absolutely online, and most of these missile units doing just fine. You know, I say that, of course, as soon as these Rangers get terrified away by the Green Knight. But the Green Knight, notwithstanding, this backline is mostly doing okay. And how about that volley? It's just sort of across the hill, man. That looks awesome. Dawi are just such a cool army. Bretonnia is too, honestly. It's unfortunate that they have to fight, but at least it looks awesome when they do it, right? You can see the Foot Squires just getting absolutely wrecked by missiles there. All that concentrated missile fire. And yeah, these Bretonnian units aren't doing too hot. That being said, the Fae Enchantress and the Paladin are still okay. There's plenty of peasant archers as well, just sort of chilling in the back line. These dwarf warriors were just about to compromise this artillery position here, and then they decided to about face. I'm not 100% sure why, but I guess they just didn't want to get too far out of position, but there's nothing really to protect this trebuchet here. So they easily could have pushed that position, but oh well. The archers are able to get some effective fire on the rangers with great weapons, of course, with their lower armor, no missile block chance, but it's not gonna do a whole lot at this point. We'll see. Balance power is still relatively even. The Green Knight and the heroic units for the Bretonnia are going to be pretty tough to take down for the dwarves. So these missile units aren't the best at taking down like small single entities, especially the Green Knight with his heavy physical resistance, although again, not sure why he doesn't have a missile block chance. But the trebuchets are also still free to fire. Let's see. They usually don't end up getting a ton of kills, but yeah, only 8 kills there and 3 kills there. Ugh. Trebuchets are just... I don't understand why they're so bad. You know, they really ought to be better. Maybe they don't have enough missile damage or something. I mean, their missile damage is pretty low, to be honest, only 170. I really think that they ought to maybe potentially buff trebuchets again. Just, I mean, they're still just not great, but... looks like the Fey Enchantress there used her bombardment. Blob kind of broke up before it got down, which is unfortunate, but the peasants routing through the cannon here aren't going to do a whole lot to the crew. But the peasant archers are still sitting back and firing. They're doing some good damage to these longbeards here. They've managed to get a whole 6 kills and 2 kills, so, you know, not bad. Over here, these ones actually have 12, because they were shooting at rangers for a time, but... these archers are going to probably have to run here at this point. You can see the gyros also moving in to try and disrupt the artillery crew there. Keep that trebuchet from firing, but I don't know if they actually will be able to. At this point, it's more or less, can the Green Knight and the Fey Enchantress and the Paladin push through and defeat all of these dwarf units? It will take quite some time, but we'll see. The true Guardian of Bretonnia fighting here against these poor Thunderers. And is that friendly fire? Somebody's taking the Slayer Oath. But, yeah, unfortunately, the Paladin, marked by Ulthar here, he does have favor of the Fae, but that marked by Ulthar is going to lower his missile block chance, and he's just going to get shreked by missiles, unfortunately. And, yeah, you can see the throwing axes in here. He's trying to provide that Guardian to the Fey Enchantress, but... yeah, it's not going to be enough. He gets routed off pretty quickly there, and honestly, Paladins don't have the best leadership in the world either. I do think that they could stand to have maybe a little bit better leadership baseline, but anyway. We'll fast forward just a tiny bit here as the Fey Enchantress and the Green Knight reunify. The trebuchets continuing to fire in. It's going to be quite a bit of this into the late game here, as the Fey Enchantress, not on a mount, is not going to be super fast, but she'll also be quite a bit of a smaller target as well, and of course cheaper on foot also. Yeah, you can see the Rune Lord in here. If the Fey Enchantress and the Green Knight both kind of double team the Rune Lord, it could do a lot, but the Green Knight may want to do exactly what he's doing now instead, which is to try and terrify away some of these missile units, protect the Fey Enchantress that way, because the missile units, of course, will do quite a bit to her. You can see the peasant mobs bravely charging in here to some tattered dwarf warriors. They're not going to have any problem holding back these peasant mobs from missile position here. Dawi cannon still operational, still firing with some thunderers nearby, and yeah, it's tough stuff. Bretonnia definitely has a pretty tough time in this matchup. Nasty volley there on the Fey Enchantress. The trebuchets continuing to fire in, well, one of them at least. The other one finally got routed off by these dwarf warriors over on the side here, so another loss of value there. Could have potentially got some good kills in the late game, but we'll see. At this point, the Bretonnians are not doing great, although, you know, the balance power actually slightly in their favor at this point, all things considered. Probably just because these heroic units are so healthy, and if they can continue to bully this Rune Lord, they might be able to bring this back. That being said, the Paladin getting dragged down by Longbeards with great weapons is not the best. He's definitely not going to like that engagement, and the arrows from the artillery kind of intersecting the camera here and showing us that the artillery is going after the Ulthar's Raiders here, who are pretty much out of ammo, as are the Quarrelers. Just about the Thunderers are the only units, and the cannon, I guess, that still have ammo. On the Bretonnian side, of course, some of the peasant bows still have ammo. They're just getting chased all across the field by these dwarf warriors. Probably eventually going to get caught and killed, but at least they're buying some time for the Fey Enchantress and the Green Knight to try and clean up some of these other units, but the Fey herself is at her healing cap, or close to it at the very least. She's getting hit by a lot of missiles at this point, so it's going to be tough. The Green Knight is a little bit far away to be able to protect and rout off some of these missile units that are shooting directly at her, so a little bit unfortunate there as the Fae does get routed off and will probably actually get finished off here by these missile units if she keeps getting staggered by the cannon crew. We'll see. Gyros might honestly just move in. Yeah, she's actually shattered at this point, so that's pretty unfortunate. That is going to put a pretty big dagger in the balance of power for Bretonnia. So we'll see. We're going to continue to fast forward a little bit in this late game. As you can see, the Dwarf Warriors just desperately trying to mop up these peasants, fruitlessly trying to catch them as the Green Knight just slogs it out here. Can the Green Knight kill all of these dwarves? That is the question. There's honestly not a whole lot of magic damage left. You can see he's terrorizing this Rune Lord at this point. The Rune Lord's taking quite a bit of damage here. The Green Knight got staggered, probably by his own artillery there, maybe? I'm not really sure, but yeah. The Rune Lord's probably going to get terrified away there, and if he gets finished off, maybe Bretonnia could come back here with enough terror routing, but the balance of power is just not looking great at this point. The Green Knight continuing to fight, but the rest of the Bretonnian units getting cleaned up. You can see the Bowman getting cleaned up on the far side. The last Trebuchet got cleaned up, so yeah, not looking great for Bretonnia at this point. The Green Knight's certainly making the last stand here, trying to push off as many units as possible, but army losses hit for the rest. He is, of course, unbreakable, so he'll continue to fight, but as it stands right now, it's pretty doubtful that he can finish off all of these dwarf units by himself. He's certainly going to try and terrify away some of these last units here, but in just a moment, Hero of Rome is going to actually admit defeat here. But yeah, it was very well played to both players. Honestly, if they were both willing to sort of sit here for another 10-15 minutes, the Green Knight might have been able to tank out all these units. It's pretty doubtful. You know, I guess he doesn't have the way of healing in the forest. At least I don't. Maybe he had it there. I'd have to go back and check. But anyway, Hero of Rome is going to admit defeat there, but a very well played, and very well played to Yumeis, of course, as well. Hope you guys enjoyed watching that one. In terms of the army composition, yeah, the infantry, you know, the foot squires just ended up being a little bit rough. In my opinion, you know, this is very much armchair generaling, but just in this matchup, the hippogriffs are so good. I honestly prefer to get them as the main damage dealers in this matchup. So what I'll typically do is just run with mobs and regular men-at-arms, no shields, just the regular sword variant. I would probably cut the paladin and cut the I would also cut the Fey Enchantress down to be just a regular prophetess, just for cost's sake. Then maybe you cut the 2 Knights Errant. I'd have to look at exactly what the costs would be, but you could potentially get, as long as you can get like 1 to 2 units of Hippogriff Knights to just come in and do massive damage to isolated units, then you can try and kind of pull your opponent apart a little bit. If they have that heavy missile presence, you can get back, disrupt heavily, and then maybe use more traditional cavalry to get in there. You know, if you were to cut all those foot squires down, it would give you quite a bit of extra points. I'd have to go exactly and see what it would be. But yeah, certainly with the Paladin cut as well and the Fey Enchantress cut down, you could probably afford to bring a little bit heavier armor-piercing units in terms of mobile units. But yeah, fun battle. Hope you guys enjoyed. If you do like this sort of content, be sure to like, subscribe, hit that bell notification button, so every time I upload a new video, you'll be notified. Thanks again for watching. We'll see you next time.